going on, everybody? We're back with another episode, little bit of a different setting today. We are here in my apartment, and today I'm going to take you through my indoor putting setup that I have here that I use so that I can get a lot of quality putting work done while at home. And I think for a lot of you that are at home right now, dealing with the winter or dealing with lockdowns, this is a great way to still make huge improvements in your putting without having to be at the golf course. And if you saw my most recent course vlog, you'll know that the things I'm implementing here are making a big difference actually on the course. So let me take you through what I got and how I get this work done. All right, so let me show you exactly what I'm working with. So first we have our basic putting mat. Basically it's just a little cheapo mat, nothing insane. You can find these all over Amazon. Just find the cheapest one that looks decent. I like the one that has a cutout at the bottom because it's a real hole, and so it's just nice. It rolls out, and again, nothing too fancy. Now the next big piece to the putting setup is the PuttOut Mirror. So this has been the newest addition to my putting kind of regimen and probably the most impactful. It is incredible what you could do with this, and I'll show you some of the drills later, but highly recommend getting this. What I do is I basically just use like painter's tape here to mark the positions of where I want the mirror, because I have this set up basically, as flat of a putt as I can, and it's a straight shot to the hole. And so when I work with this, you'll see I want this to be perfect every time because I'm working on alignment. So I just basically have these set up so I know this can go here at the same time. And then also too, it comes with a gate, so I can have my gate set up perfectly every time, and I know exactly my alignment, so that's super important right there. Now in terms of other stuff, I've got the pressure puttainer, which I really enjoy working with, super hard. And then I also got the other PuttOut Gates. I don't really use those too often. I don't think the gates are a necessary purchase. Honestly, I just found them super cheap at Marshall's, and so I picked them up. The gate that comes with the putting mirror is more than enough to use. And then the last piece, and this is kind of a new addition, is the new Canada Pro Shop putting carpet. So this is actually really cool. I use this now instead of the mirror when I'm kind of moved on from that, and this has the arc and everything, and I actually can lay this right over top of the putting mat itself and roll putts. So now in terms of setting everything up, I basically just have this like laying on the floor. I found, the reason why I use this area is just honestly, this was super flat. So whoever laid the floor here did a good job in creating this as a flat putt. And so that's where I set it up, and it's good because it kind of stays out of the way of the rest of my apartment, so I can kind of leave it permanently set up. And I would see if you're going to have a spot, try and have something that's kind of permanent that you can always kind of go to. You'd be surprised at how many times you can kind of sneak away to this and just roll putts. And so if you saw my day in the life routine, I'm up between 4:30 and 5 every day, and I'm rolling putts all day. From any free moment I have, if I've got clothes in the washer or whatever, and I'm in between errands or in between emails, I am just here rolling putts anytime I can. So I think it's super important to just have a setup that you really like, that's just always ready, available, so you can just roll putts all the time. Now, I think the value of having a setup like this is to create a repeatable putting motion that you can bring to the course. How you practice and how you create habits is vital to being able to replicate those in course conditions. And so one of the things I found was practicing without these tools for the first couple months that I was here. I just had the mat, and I was just kind of putting as I was going. But the one thing I noticed was that my stroke was just so inconsistent. So what having this setup allows me to do is be super militant on practicing perfectly every single time. So one of the most vital things to perfect practice is this putting mirror, because what it makes sure is that your setup is perfect every single time. So the way I use this mirror is I have it, again, it's a straight shot right to the hole, so it's perfectly straight. And I am going to use this mirror every putt to make sure that my setup is completely perfect. Because one thing I was noticing without the mirror is that your face can drift, how you're set up, your lie angle. And if you saw any of my putting lessons with Chris, you would see that my hand position could get a little wonky and my lie angle could get a little weird. And so what this makes sure is that my eye lines, my alignment of my putter, and my ball position are perfect every single time. So I know where my feet are supposed to be here. I know exactly where my putter face is supposed to be. I know where my hands are supposed to be. And so I am putting from this every single time. Now, when I don't have the mirror, right, when I was just practicing on my own, it was tough to make sure that I was militant on ball position. You know, when you're just rattling off putts here with no purpose, you know, the ball position can leak, you know, your face angle can leak. You start getting lazy. What I love about this perfect practice method is that with this mirror, I can put this here and I have to roll it every single time the right way. Now, taking the mirror up a notch is using these magnetic attachments. Now, where I love these is that depending on your tendencies, you can use these to make sure that your setup and takeaway is perfect every time. So 2 things I struggle with when it comes to my setup and takeaway is, one, just making sure that on contact at the ball, that my putter face is square and aligned with the target. So I, a lot of times, will practice with these in right here. But what I've also found helpful is that I sometimes drift in my takeaway. And so I'll put these, you know, at the right increments. Like what you can do is you see there's numbers here. So, you know, I know for me, I've kind of, you know, when I started, I was kind of had the 4 increment. Sometimes I'll drift them when I'm feeling really good and really dialed in. I start to drift them in closer and closer to basically where, you know, I'm really testing how much free space I have here with my putter. So you'll see, and as soon as you hit them, you feel it. Like you have to really kind of dial in your putting stroke and, you know, make sure you're perfectly aligned. So I really like that. That's a great gauge, and it's a great way to know if you're cheating your stroke. Now, what you can do is, depending on, you know, your other tendencies, like when my takeaway starts to get poor, I just move these directly back. And I start to now have a governor for that. So when I'm taking the ball away, you know, if I start to drift or if I'm pulling, you know, you bounce right into these. You have immediate feedback on if your stroke is actually doing what it's supposed to do. Now, another thing I've seen that's really cool is that, you know, some guys what they'll do is they'll have kind of it like this, right? So you can have, if you can kind of make sure you're not pulling your putter face too much, or vice versa if you're one of those people that kind of takes it away, you know, too far and cuts across. So you can use these in different ways to make sure that your takeaway is perfect every single time. So this is my basic starting point here, and I will just rattle putts right to the hole, and that's a great way to start, a great way to just kind of, you know, work out kinks in your stroke and not have, you know, anything too crazy in terms of a target, and you just want to make sure your stroke is repeatable and working every single time on this line. Now I call this easy mode. You can still roll, you know, great putts and get a lot of good work done, but you can still kind of hit them not totally ideal and get away with it. And so the next thing we want to do is bring in another element to ensure that we're dialed in with our putting. So that next element is the gate. So what the gate does is it makes sure that we are starting this on the right starting line every single time. So I want to make sure that when I hit this putt right here, okay, and I'm starting it on this line, that I am not hitting it out of the toe, out of the heel, and I'm perfectly lining it up to go into the hole. Because again, without the gate, you know, your margin for error is a little larger. The hole's decently big. You know, you can get away with poor contact. But as soon as you add the gate in there, you have to split it. And you'll see the gate's not very large. Like look at the size, you know, the ball fits in between. There is not a lot of room for error there. So I really like this for putting stress on making sure that my setup is so dialed that I can get it through this gate at the beginning. And if you can get it through here, the putt always goes in every single time. That kind of adds another element of pressure and practice. But again, you can still start to get lazy. So where we kick it up another notch is we add in the pressure putt. And so what the pressure putt does is now it makes sure that our tempo and speed has to be perfect every single time, because it will reject the ball if it's not coming in at the perfect speed on the perfect line. And so what's great about this now is that we have this mirror checking our setup. We have the gate checking our starting line and making sure we're hitting the center of the face. And then we have the pressure putt now making sure that our speed and our line is holding correctly at the end. And the combination of all these 3 things now makes for a magical putting test. So with this setup here, I basically just grind and grind over technique. So how I start to now make it feel a little more like a real kind of putt is I will take away the mirror and first start with rolling putts, you know, just through the gate like this. okay? And I'll just roll putts, and I'll actually even get rid of the pressure putt because, again, you know, as great as it is, like, I want to actually see the real hole and envision what it's like to sink a putt into a regulation size golf hole. So I'll go through here and make sure my start lines are good, and then I'll completely remove it and go with nothing. But what I've been really liking lately is adding the Canada Pro Shop mat, because what I like about this is that it's like using the mirror, but now I don't have the crutch of seeing the visual alignment in terms of the reflection. And so I can now use this to work on fundamentals. And then once I feel really good with this, just kind of to a straight putt, I will then remove this entirely and putt completely just like a normal putt right here, and will go at various distances up and down the mat. Now, if you really want to kick up your practice a notch and really kind of now make it even more applicable to the course, what I will do is line up the ball every time on the mirror and go through my pre-shot routine. So I have a pre-shot routine that I kind of, the way I address the ball every single time. Unfortunately, I can't do the walk back because I've got my weights here and I don't have the room. So what I'll do is, instead of, walking directly behind the ball, I practice just kind of going through my rhythm so I can follow my exact routine, line up to the ball, get my putter set, make sure my putter's aligned, and then roll the putt exactly how I would in a round. And so I will repeat that over and over and do that practice exactly the way I would do it on the course. Because what I find now is that, this is what, a 6 foot putt basically that I have right here. Whenever I have a 6 foot putt exactly like this on the course, even an 8 footer, I just basically envision, okay, I'm at my home rig. This putt's easy. I've made this putt a million times. So because I'm going through this routine, I know exactly what it's supposed to look like. I know exactly how it's supposed to feel. When I see this putt on the course, it no longer freaks me out. All right, guys, that's my entire home putting setup. Basically everything you need to get absolutely dialed when it comes to your putting. And honestly, it does translate to the course. I'm seeing huge benefit. And if you haven't seen my course vlog yet, check it out. I just shot 6 under, my best round ever, and my putter was absolutely on fire. And that's from doing work like this every single day. So if you implement these things at home, just work on putts. Don't go too crazy with like different drills. Honestly, I just focus on technique and rolling solid putts, and you just, do a couple hundred of these a day and the work adds up. So that concludes this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Join me on my 2021 golf journey, and I will catch you on the next one.